The nullification of a presidential election in 2017 to an attempt to stop the will of the people as expressed through the BBI. The judiciary has indeed tested our constitutional limits. While I stand by the rule of law, and I will always obey the decisions of the courts, I am also compelled by my position to heed the sovereign and supreme voice of the people of Kenya. And that is why our national conversation today must focus on the consequences of choice.
The appeal shall be heard on 29th and 30th of June 2021. And lastly, the hearing shall be in open court at a venue to be arranged in compliance with the COVID-19 protocol.
Good evening and welcome to Tipping Point, the first show of the month. It's so good to have you joining us tonight. And we'll start the show with news just in. 34 out of 41 judges who had been recommended by the Judicial Service Commission in 2018 have finally been appointed by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Among those rejected include Justice George Odunga, Justice Agre Muchelule, and Justice Ngugi Joel, who presided over the BBI case and nullified it. These appointments coming days after President Kenyatta led the swearing-in of CJ Coleman State House. However, the president also threw salvos at the same judiciary during the Madaraka Day celebrations. Speak to us and share your feedback on the relationship between the executive and the judiciary through our SMS line 111 or on our social media handles at Switch TV Kenya or at Lincoln Wambogo. Remember to use the hashtag Tipping Point so we could keep this conversation as interactive as possible. My guests tonight are Richard Onyonka, MP, Kitutu Chache, and of course Ruben Kagai, a lawyer and political analyst, and Zach. My name is Lincoln Wambogo. Our sign language interpreters tonight are Tracy Dorcas and Michael Mayfield. Gentlemen, shall we, and many thanks for creating time.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Now, my first question is, since 2018, why did the president have to take so long to appoint these judges?
Essentially, the matter of appointment of the judges has always been controversial from the beginning. The reason for that is that he had received information. In fact, when you discuss with many of the people who would have some information as to what the issues were, if you remember, and most of the time you find that Kenyans were very short memories, some of these judges are the ones who were the ones who made rulings on the Akasha cases. Some of them had made rulings on matters which were extremely controversial. I think to a large extent, Uhuru did what he should have done 2 years ago. And that is pick the ones that you feel qualified and leave the ones that you feel were not qualified.
Now, my director is telling us to take a look at what the president had to say during these Madaraka Day celebrations.
Yes.
Take a look.
The nullification of a presidential election in 2017 to an attempt to stop the will of the people as expressed through the BBI. The judiciary has indeed tested our constitutional limits. While I stand by the rule of law, and I will always obey the decisions of the courts, I am also compelled by my position to heed the sovereign and supreme voice of the people of Kenya. And that is why our national conversation today must focus on the consequences of choice.
The appeal shall be heard on 29th and 30th of June 2021. And lastly, the hearing shall be in open court at a venue to be arranged in compliance with the COVID-19 protocols.
The president seems to say consequences of choice. Now, my question is, whose win is it? The executive, the judiciary, or the people, Nurdin?
You know, in essence, what has happened today is an illegality. Let us be honest. Because you see, there is a court order where the president cannot cherry pick who to gazette and who not to gazette.
So he had to appoint all of them.
Let me tell you something. You see, by the time those names get to him, there's a process under the JSC. And in the JSC, he has a representative. All right? There's the AG there. If there are any concerns, they should be raised at the JSC level. That is what people are saying. So you see, the problem is nothing was raised at that level. So once it goes to the president, his role is entirely ceremonial. There is a court order in that effect. He says he's going to follow the law. Sadly, there's a court order saying that he cannot cherry pick, but there were actually 41. One is dead.
Yes.
So there are now 40. So 34 have been gazetted. 6 are remaining. So you see, some would say this is more or less a personal vendetta. You realize, at the end of the day, if there were any questions to be raised, it was during the committee stage at the JSC level. Since none was raised then, and the names were forwarded to him, his role is ceremonial, and there's a court order. So he should follow the court order. Because if he says now he has information, then clearly the guys who collect intelligence for him are sleeping on their job. It takes them 2 years later to realize that, oh, there's a problem. Clearly, they're sleeping on their job. So we have to, the problem is we have to be a country that observes the law. Going forward, sadly, the current government, there are so many court orders that are not observed. And that's not a good precedent. Because when you get sworn in, anyone, be it a member of parliament, an MCA, a governor, whatever, you have to protect the rule of law. That is what you follow. Because where there is no law, there is no order. And a lawless country is a jungle. It's more or less like survival for the fittest. And that's not what we want to encourage going forward. Yeah.
Mheshimiwa, let me come back to you. Zach, I'll be with you in a moment. Cherry picking, illegalities.
Yes.
I mean, is the president consequences of choice? Is the president still revisiting the judiciary?
You know what is interesting is that it's very easy for us to look at the Kenyan scenario and be selective in terms of what you call legal and what's not legal. As a member of the opposition, we disagreed with the ruling. I mean, we agreed with the ruling that Magara gave to actually have Uhuru go back to the elections. But you remember there were people who are on the Jubilee side who felt that that was a bad ruling, and it was a ruling that was actually even going to push the country to the precipice. I believe that Uhuru is free to actually use that ruling as something that he didn't agree with, even though he obliged with it, right? That's why I think he said that I am always going to follow the law. The second issue that I wanted to clarify with my brother is that the issues which came out of the judiciary at the time when this controversy started was because that there was an issue which was raised, that there were certain judges who had issues which were outstanding, and Uhuru didn't feel that it was necessary to pass the whole list. I understand what my brother is saying, and that is that he couldn't cherry pick from that list. Now, again, the courts are free for the matter to be taken to court and let the due process take place. According to me, the Constitution does not actually tell the president that he cannot cherry pick. It just says that the names, once they've been released by the Judicial Service Commission, then the president shall approve them and allow the judges to start acting as judges. The problem that you have is that there are certain there's certain leeway and certain space that the president has, which allows him, and I may not agree with this decision, but you see, my understanding, and I look at, sometimes I look at Kenyans and I hear all of you talking about the rule of law. My brothers, what has just happened to America? Which rule of law is there? The exercises we are conducting in this country are political. The politics is what is going to determine where your country is going to go. Whether you bring all the laws and get the best chief justice that you can, if the political class is not willing to accept that these are the parameters which we are going to operate to make sure that this country is functional, we are wasting our time.
Do you agree with that, Zach? Do you agree with Ononko?
Onoyo, I thank you for that, my friend, the host. I don't agree with what Mheshimiwa is saying. To me, the president is another way is trying to sabotage not only the judiciary but the country. why is it that these judges were not picked during Maraga's regime? As everybody was waiting for that, but it happened in Kome's regime. There is something that the president was avoiding that is not yet to come out.
What's that?
Some judges who were left, if you follow keenly, they must be somewhere they have mentioned about the executive, not following the court orders, not following what the constitution requires for them to do. The president, the best thing he could have done, he could have appointed the list as it was forwarded to him. I agree with my friend here, Wakili. You know, the president has a team of National Intelligence Service, which gives him all the information. We cannot lie to ourselves. Since the list was forwarded to him to this moment, that is now when Maraga is out, when now there is a complaint about 2-3 of the people, of the judges. So I don't agree. I think the president, the problem we have with our president is one person. Mweshimo will keep on saying that the president is not allowed, he can cherry pick, but the president should be, our Kenyan president should follow court orders and he should follow our constitution.
And gentlemen, Nurdin, I asked you earlier, whose win is it? The executive, the judiciary, or the people?
I like the way he took the conversation. He's very honest. You see, the win clearly, like he said, you see, like I keep telling you, there is politics in everything in this world, in your marriage, at work, everywhere. And so there is a political angle to this. So the winner is obviously the one who was cherry-picked, right? Not you and I, all right? Because
the winner is the executive.
Because some of the names that are left out are good judges actually. And if you look at some of the rulings judges have made, some of them are actually good judges. You see, the problem is, the question that is asked is, during the vetting process, the president failed to prove his case against them. The question was, what is this that you have that they cannot ascend, to the next office? And he said, whatever I have is sensitive and I cannot share with you. So the moment you can't share that with the JSC, then you have nothing. And the law is very clear. You can call me a thief, but if you can't prove it, then I'm not a thief. You realize? So the moment you fail to prove your case during the vetting process, and the names are forwarded to you, his role, people are forgetting that this is a new constitution. The 2010 constitution is different. His role is purely ceremonial. Gazettement.
But Mheshimiwa Nyonka says that the president is at liberty of cherry-picking.
There is no liberty. There's no such liberty. Because he can't decide you will go and you won't go. It's the same thing as once the name is forwarded to, let's say, the CJ. The Jubilee government tried to change the law so that they can have 2 or 3 names forwarded to them. But the law says only one. And once that name goes to the president, it's final. You have a ceremonial role. You cannot then retract the process. So we are forgetting that this is a new dispensation and a new constitution. People are struggling. I fear for him because he's struggling to understand the new constitution. It is different from what is there because sadly, he is the first president to undergo the new constitution fully in his term. Courtesy of devolution and et al. So some of the advisors are not awake to the fact that it's a new constitution and a new country. So they are fighting and trying to find ways of how they can outmaneuver the constitution. You can't. And once this goes to court, I'll tell you for free. There is a court order, an existing court order that says all names forwarded must be gazetted. There's a court order. So if you can't go back to court and the court order existing. You realize? Because the law is there. And we should follow the law. When we say, for example, we talk about Kenya and the rule of law, and we give examples of other countries. He just gave the USA, or you give Uganda, for example, that is being run like a banana state. And you say, because this is happening there, that's not a problem. That is a problem.
No, then since not all judges have been appointed, some have been left out. What is supposed to happen now?
The exercise in itself is an illegality. There is no way some will go and some will remain. It's either it stops there, or you send all the names. You cannot cherry pick. There is no legal basis of cherry picking them. If you can't prove your case at the vetting process, and Mheshimiwa is member of parliament, they carry out the vetting process. If you can't prove an allegation against somebody, then there's no way you have anything against them. That's a sad reality.
Can I say something?
Please respond.
I don't know whether it's because of my age or experience or lack of both, and maybe education or lack of it. A constitution is a live document.
Yes.
The fear I have for my country, and that is my country called Kenya, is that we have got, in fact, we are right now very fortunate that we have the third arm of government which is not on fire. My fear is that if we drift the way we are drifting, there's a likelihood that you're going to have a constitutional crisis in this country, which then puts you in a position that it ends up making the country more ungovernable. And the issue that I would like to point out is that, yes, it is a new constitution, and yes, there is a possibility that Uhuru as president might decide. And you know, I really have no interest in Uhuru's presidency, or I don't have any particular gain I get out of it. I'm not even in Jubilee. My honest feeling is that we need to be much more careful in how we are going to handle the fallout out of the disagreements which are coming from the executive and the judiciary. The reason for that is, I can give you an example, my brother. You saw when the judges were making a ruling that, in fact, the president, under Chapter 6, in reality, what they were saying is he shouldn't even be president. So my question is, why don't you go and remove him then? You can't. You can't make a ruling which is self-defeatist if you are going to carry this country to the next level. If we are going to question what Uhuru is doing, then let us do it in a way that we make it possible for our country to work without necessarily destroying itself. In other words, let's not throw away the water with the child. And that is what I see you people in the judiciary doing. All the lawyers are screaming about how Uhuru is breaking the law, and you see Kenya must be a law-abiding. There is nothing like a country being law-abiding. What we must have is a country that is willing, first of all, to accept that we have challenges and look for a way on how we are going to pick those challenges and move ahead. I can tell you right now, 60% of this country is pro-BBI. That's the reality. I'm a politician. You guys are in the law. You can scream all you want. You can talk. Wait, let me finish. You guys can be screaming about. Listen to me. You guys can be screaming about all you want about it is against the law. This thing was not done from the public. Wanjiku is the one who. All those things, according to us, are completely inconsequential. What do I look at? This country requires resources which are going to be devolved. BBI brings me resources which are going to the county governments. Those resources will go down to the ward. All your legalese are in fact irrelevant to me. What I want, if you give me the 35%, I'll go to my grassroots and I'm going to change the poverty levels which are there. Whether you want to bring Chapter 6 and say, what happened? Look at what happened to our Chapter 6. Look at where it is.
You see, Mheshimiwa.
Exactly.
Let me. There's something here. Mheshimiwa said that is very interesting. Mheshimiwa has mentioned two things. He has come up saying everything is by a political level. There is a difference between politics way and a judicial way. Exactly. If you listen to what Wakil here is saying, it's very clear. The president. Why is it that the judges are not appointed the same way the ministers and cabinet secretaries are appointed? Because these are the people who come in as a neutral body. But now what the president is doing is trying to make the judiciary as like his own house that he can control. Which Mheshimiwa, as person who is in parliament, he should be the first person to say no to that. But here is telling Kenyans that, you know, every angle we have to take is political. He has said that everybody is pro-BBI.
60%.
60%.
Yes.
As things are right now, look, you as the media house, and when Mheshimiwa has been seeing all these things in the internet and in social media, how the celebration, how Kenyans were very happy with the ruling of the court.
No.
But Mheshimiwa, because Mheshimiwa, because
social media,
because Mheshimiwa inside the bunge
at that level,
he voted yes.
It diminishes our thinking.
Which Mheshimiwa in the bunge voted yes. because after some many MPs were intimidated that tomorrow they will be KRA, they will be what?
Were you intimidated?
And they voted yes.
You see,
I'm telling you, Mheshimiwa is not speaking in his point of
Were
view.
you
I
intimidated?
didn't know that Switch TV is a propaganda channel.
No, it is not.
It is not.
Let me
That's
tell
my
you.
own view.
Let
It's
me
not
tell
about
you.
That's his view.
No, let me
That's
tell
his
you.
view.
Let me tell you.
Were you intimidated,
I
Mheshimiwa?
want to tell you this. It is a fallacy for somebody to have an impression and think that all MPs are so stupid. We've not been to school, therefore we were just being intimidated because we are corrupt and we have stolen, therefore we were voting because we are fools. Don't ever try that. Listen to me. Don't ever try that. What I am saying, what I am telling you is this. Kenya is a country that has got its challenges. These challenges must be handled carefully. We don't have a magic wand that is going to say, if you do this, then we will do this, and therefore what? It is good for us to observe the law. It is, in fact, the reason why I'm a member of parliament. It is the law that has made me who I am. But what I am saying, the moment you have a judiciary that is beginning to emasculate the powers of the executive, then you are going to have the executive do what Uhuru is doing.
Who is emasculating whose powers here, Nurdin?
You know,
First respond.
Look at the other day. There was a ruling.
Let me
There was
answer
a
it this
ruling
way. Let me answer it this way.
on parastatal heads who were appointed. All of them were degazetted.
Who is emasculating the other, Nurdin?
Let me answer it this way. You see, Mheshimiwa said,
Yes.
there's no time for our legalists. You see, the problem is people don't understand how the judiciary is working, sadly. And you know, the judiciary is the last line of defense for any Kenyan citizen. A weak judiciary is a weak country. That is where, when you have a parcel of land and it is grabbed by a powerful individual in the country, and you cannot go to court because you know you will never win the case. A weak judiciary is the reason why we had what we had in 2007. People had no faith in the judiciary. That is why what happened can be seen. A weak judiciary is where a member of parliament will lose and go to court and seek redress, and we have a by-election, courtesy of an nullified election, all right? So what we are trying to talk about, you see, we're not saying the judiciary should be all superpower like the America. What we, you know, judiciary and the executive, there's something called interdependence.
Interdependence. Nurdin, hold that thought right there. We take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. The conversation continues shortly.
Kulete haki kwa kila Mkenya, na ndipo nawauliza kwa heshima kubwa, jameni, mukubali, mujitokeze, muiunge mkono. Yale ambayo yako mbele yetu tutatatua, mimi najua. Tukiwa na mawakili kama Urengo tunaweza kushindwa kweli?
Welcome back. You're watching Tipping Point. I am Lincoln Obugo, sign language interpreters tonight, Michael Mathia and Teresia Washira. Now the question I ask this gentleman here tonight, and of course you, do you think the appointment of the 34 judges is in any way tied to the BBI case? Nurdin?
Of course.
It is?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. I believe so. Let me tell you something. You know, I was saying something before we went off air.
Yes.
There's some, you see, I say a good and strong judiciary is good for the country. And nobody is saying the judiciary is out to fight the executive. It shouldn't even be like that. It's all about interdependence. But in interdependence, no arm of government should feel like they can control the other arm. Because, you know, we have separation of powers. Yes, we know it's only in the Constitution. But in reality, it's more or less like a myth, because someone would want to control the judiciary. The sad reality, when Shimwe talked about chapter 6, who should not be present, whatnot, you know, for the impeachment to happen, it comes from Parliament. All right? Comes from what? From Parliament. Now, you have to realize one thing. The reason why he says it's not possible, I'll tell you for free, is that political parties in Kenya are owned by individuals. Realize? And that is why, let me tell you, and that is why members of parties always talk about party position, party line, respect the party leader. There is no way it's going to work like that. At the end of the day, that is why you see when it comes to voting, back when Jubilee used to have tyranny of numbers, when they passed the security bill, 3/4 of those MPs never even read that bill. They just passed it by acclamation. That's a sad reality. And when we talk about independence, it should also go to the elected leaders, because you should have a brain of your own and mind of your own to think and say, here I stand with you, here I don't. Right now we have a finance bill 2020, and some Kenyans don't even know what's in that bill. It has some stringent tax issues that are going to affect the Kenyan, like LPG at 16%. So we are asking ourselves, you know, when you go on Twitter right now, the same way I'm going to rant on Twitter is the same way a member of parliament is going to rant on Twitter while you have a house to go. But when they go to the house, they have a party line, a party position. Respect the party leader, because if they don't, there will be action against you. That is what you see, what they were talking about. You see in Jubilee what is happening to them. Some have been demoted. You were once a member of the budget committee. Unatupwa catering. You know, that's in the highest order. It's a sad reality. But we need to wake up. You see, Kenya is being run haphazardly. The things are being done in a topsy-turvy kind of situation. And that needs to change, honestly.
Can I, because I'm a member of parliament.
Yes, okay,
I hope I'm not taking my brother's time.
It's okay.
Let me say this. Kenya as a country is actually being run reasonably. The only thing is that Kenyans have become completely political.
All of them.
Most
of them.
Most Kenyans are political. That's why you notice every Kenyan who makes some money, whether it's from a business transaction, the next thing he wants is to go and run to become an MP instead of going to run and open a factory, even if it is employing 50 people. I am optimistic, and I'm in a catch-22. That I totally understand that we have a country that has very specific and particular challenges. I also have looked what has happened to the other countries. I'll give you an example. You can take Rwanda as a country in Africa, which, if you wanted, you could say President Kagame is a sovereign dictator. And yet, in reality, Rwanda is a country that is growing at about, 14-15%. The president of Rwanda has made sure that land adjudication has been done. They're on geomaps. You can buy a piece of land in Rwanda from when you're in London. Everybody in Rwanda pays taxes. The streets are clean. And everything is running in order. The judiciary in Rwanda is rated amongst the best, not in Africa, but in the world. Easy of doing business. It's incredible. And this is a president who you call a dictator, who actually has made sure that Rwanda has got 60% of the legislators are women. And this is a country because he has changed from multipartyism into single party leadership, or one party leadership, whatever you want to call it. And you can turn around and say, that is a dictator. If anything, you need to get him and even jail him and everything. And yet, because Rwanda has got its own specific issues, historical, colonial, and all the issues that have happened, maybe that is what was good for them. What I am trying to say here, and I repeat again, I'm not Uhuru's advocate. I'm in for Kenya. What we are saying is we need to be more realistic and, for lack of a better term, more understanding on how we handle the matters which, one, you said yourself, Wakili, this is something we are trying to understand. The regime we had before, the president appointed all the judges. The president told the judges, that is what is happening in Uganda. That's what Museveni does. But the Ugandan in government will tell you, this is our case. This is a unique case that you must handle with in Uganda, because if you don't, then there are consequences which will lead us. Right? And that is why I used the case of America. Trump is the first president of the United States who's actually come and he insults a judge. He takes the Supreme Court judge, Mr. Roberts, and tells him, you are making rulings which are mediocre and in fact, and yet I'm the one who has been voted by 74 million people. You understand where I'm coming from? I'm not saying that we should not be a country that is governed by law. What I'm saying is we must be very careful how we handle. The judiciary handles itself, the presidency handles itself, and parliament handles itself, because those are the three arms of government. Now, as a member of parliament, I'll tell you something. It is true. Our political parties are not issue-based. We don't have ideology. We are tribal-based. All right? Until we solve the issue of our tribalness, until we eliminate the issues that make us come together because of a tribal interest and make us fight because of lack of tribal interest, then you will still have a country that suffers the consequences that you have right now. That's really, I don't know whether I've made myself clear.
Zach seems to be burning.
Yeah, and again, his last point has really interested me. He has said the truth. Our political parties in Kenya are tribe-based, which is very good, Mheshimiwa. That's why we request people like you to join hands with Dr. Samuel Ruto. Dr. Ruto, as our deputy president, you can see what he keeps on saying. We want parties which are non-tribal, parties which bring out the whole country together. And that's why we want Mheshimiwa Nyonka. What I'm telling him is that he should look for such kind of leaders and work with. Let me continue.
I'll give you I'll give you
I'm being honest with you. Dr. Ruto is the best person now to work with. But now let me go again in another part.
Now come back to
let me come back to the issue now. You have played here a good clip, which you are being told about what the president has said. But the same president again, he says you cannot be. There is some part of it where he said tukikuwa na mtu kama Orengo hapa tutashindwa kweli. I think it's the same way. The same president says
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
He says you cannot be in parliament, or you cannot be representing somewhere and then be in the court of law. It means that you have some interest in such particular issues. In the matter that is going on currently, the executive is trying to win the heart of Kenyans, which they will not win, basing on BBI. Why is it that
60% of Kenyans?
No. Why is it that? Let me just be honest, which Mheshimiwa knows. Why is that an outgoing president with just 1 year to go and some 2 months is busy in trying to change a constitution or trying to amend a constitution? There is something that he's interested in. One thing that I know as an individual, is that the president is trying to leave some people inside government that he should control, and he will control even outside government. When he's relaxing in his home at in Mount Kenya, he will just be using a phone call telling, hey, in judicially fanyeni hivi, in executive fanyeni hivi. That's why they're trying to come with the BBI.
Zach,
the BBI,
are you saying that the appointment of 34 judges is tied to the BBI case?
Exactly.
That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. It's tied to BBI cases, and that's why some people were left out. If it's really not tied to BBI judges, let the president come out with the same list that was given to him, if that's the fact. And why is it tied to BBI cases is the issue that people should know, and the Kenyans should know. Why did the president not assign all these people and appoint them when Maraga was in the office? Why is he doing? And what Mheshimiwa knows very well. And I'll tell you, Mheshimiwa, I will not crucify Mheshimiwa, because after this show, he may be outside here being waited by this year and the KRA because of what he's saying.
Mheshimiwa Zach, please.
Let me just tell you something. You see, To go back to where Mheshimiwa stopped, I talked about the ethnicity in our country.
Yes.
You see, I keep saying this. For me, you see, the BBI process, I find it funny because issues that we want to solve, you know, issues that, for example, when I take it, or let me just use that, all right? You see, the problem with us is that, and I like what the president said during the bombers when they were launching the BBI. He said, matter the ethnicity, the problem is with them, and he pointed the dais where they were seated, and they said they are the reason as to why the country is usually divided into ethnic lines. You see, the problem is we form tribal cocoons, or rather tribal kingpins, and we use that as a political tool. The sad reality is that it's never a community that is in power, and I'll tell you for free. Yes, you do have 1 or 2 people from that community that will get employed, but it's usually the cronies and those who are close to that person who's in power. We need to move away from that and have an honest conversation. And here I'm not going to name drop names like my brother is doing, you know. What we want in Kenya, he just mentioned about Kagame. What we want in Kenya is a visionary, selfless and patriotic leader. You see, the BBI wants to cure ethnicity, but it has to start with the software. You can't clean the hardware where the software has virus. It doesn't work that way. You want to talk about solving ethnicity, but you are so ethnic balkanized that you can't see beyond your community. It doesn't work that way. You realize? So when you talk about having, let's say, like what they're saying, 5 positions, all right, up there, okay? Because the BBI, okay, it also has its good things like the resources going out to the county. But when you talk about the 5 seats up there, let's say, for example, it's me, my brother Mheshimiwa, you, and him. And let's just take committee XYZ, not going to mention any. And we come together plus anybody else. And let's add a lady so that, you know, tomorrow it might be on the papers, you know, he's not gender sensitive, all right? So, and then we have 5 others. We win, they lose. So how those guys get out for? That's not what we need. We need a leader. You know, when you're being sworn in at Uhuru Park as a president, you say the President of the Republic of Kenya, not Gatundu, not Kondele, not Wasingisho or anywhere, because you are meant to serve people regardless of how they voted for you. What is happening in Kisumu, I feel, first and foremost, I have mixed emotions. One side, I feel like it's about time that they have resources going down to them. On the other hand, I'm like, they don't need to be close to the government to be served by the government, because you pay taxes. And this reminds me about, if you are following closely this past week, the Pan-African Parliament, or as it's commonly known as PAP. The problem facing Africa is Africans themselves. Because if you could look at that parliament, for example, we have divided Africa into regions: West, North, South, East, and Eastern Africa. And then you find ourselves, now the ethnicity in Africa is between Anglo and Francophone. That's what I'm talking about, the software. So you have to solve the software first. And that is what that was evident at PAP. So when you come back to Kenya, when I say you link, I need to see you first as a Kenyan, not as link, from which county. That's what we need to change. And it starts from the leaders, because they are the ones who remind you of your tribe. Because on normal occasions, Kamau and Otiende will play ball together. But when it comes to politics, someone comes, open the sunroof and anakuambia, by the way, watu wametuzoea, ni wakati yetu. They remind you of your community, but in those 5 years, you are eating all with Kamau.
Mheshimiwa, Nurdin and Zach,
yes,
agree that, you know, the appointment of the 34 judges is tied to the BBI case. Do you agree with them?
Actually, no.
Why?
But you are cornering me, because Nurdin has raised, and Zach wants to kill me. But let me first stop him. Zach, I have known William Ruto longer than you have known him. I have worked with him.
That's a fact.
I have said William Ruto is an intelligent, bright, young person who's ambitious, who can actually be president of Kenya. I have also said I feel he doesn't have the wisdom and he doesn't have the ethos of being a leader, because previously, and I want to go back to last year, that is actually what the... No, let me finish. That is the disagreement I've been having, when he would frequently insult Raila, when he would always... That is what makes a leader make a community hate other people, because he's insulting our community. But he still has a chance. Number 2, so And I have never said I can't work with him. All I've said is I feel that he doesn't give me the hope of seeing a leadership in Kenya that is going to become transformative and that is going to change. When you say, Mr. Zak, there is a William Ruto is somebody who has completely said now he's a good leader, he has come out and he's not tribal, he's going to get all Kenyans to work with him. That is good. But go to his office, 90% of his employees are Kaleos.
No, I hope you give me time to defend that.
I'll give you time.
Kindly.
Wait. Number two, he's a child of this software he's talking about. We are children of this software. This country makes you believe that if you belong to a certain tribe, that is how you create your base. Then that base is what you bring to the table for you to negotiate with anybody, because we negotiate using bases and these bases are tribal. So I don't blame him being tribal. Are you with me? And his history is there. But I've said he's a good guy. He has challenges. That is up to Kenyans to decide, not me, because I'm not running for president. Number two, if he wants me to vote for him, he has to ask me for my vote. Number two, the issues that BBI was trying to cure. I was ecstatic the other day when Uhuru was in Kisumu, and the amount of money and the amount of resources and the projects which were being announced. Why, Nurin? Because we have been saying what Raila has done is what used to happen when the winner took it all. When President Uhuru and William Ruto took over the presidency of this country, they took everything. In fact, the reason why William is upset is because what Raila is taking is what William used to take. And Uhuru, you are from Central. Uhuru has taken most of this stuff to Central. So what we are saying, remove that money that is being taken by two communities and spread it out to all the communities in Kenya.
Allow me respond
constitutionally, Zak.
Allow me respond to that so that
I'll give you time. Let him finish, Zak.
Zak, it's not hot yet.
Please finish and then I will respond to that.
Don't put it in your lungs. Be like the governor.
Please finish.
The things which were being presented in Luo Nyanza, for us, it proved what we have been saying. Nobody from the Luo community would feel marginalized, would feel thrown out. Why? Because finally the state has delivered.
My director is telling me that we have less than 10 minutes. Maybe we can take, because we're talking about William Ruto, before you speak, Zak, maybe we can look at this clip. Deputy President talking about the rule of law, not the rule of men. Take a look.
It will be an act of great betrayal if we allowed ethnic bigotry and personality cults to destroy the firm foundation of constitutionalism and the rule of law in our nation.
Because we're still with you, Mweshimiwa,
Yes.
What did the Deputy President mean?
He means he's saying that people should not love him the way he's a cult. People are going. You see, when you talk to Zak about William, he wants even to slap me.
That's not the case.
Yet William is a human being who will make mistakes like everybody. William has been in this system for 30 years. In this system that he's talking about. We had a cult of personality with Moi. There was no constitutionalism under Moi. We came into the Kibaki administration where we were having a coalition government. There was no cult of personality, but the reality was that the cult of personality was actually attacking Raila. And in reality, we have now come to where we are today. What William is brilliant is in, what he's so clever about, he grasps the moment. He has grabbed the moment now of how the court ruled, how he was against BBI. If BBI would have won, he would have said I was not opposing it. All right, and that kind of thing. So where we are, for me, what I'm actually saying is, let me bring this. I agree with you, my brother. The software of tribalism cannot be sorted out now. That is why we are coming in with BBI. Because for us, my brothers, what we are saying is very simple. for us to go back to education. Like you see this thing that has been done, which has been called delocalization, where teachers are removed. Like my teacher today is from Kericho, in a primary school in the village in my place. That is what we need to do with our primary schools, secondary schools, and everything, so that Kenyans can begin to feel that we are really Kenyans. Then you can now bring laws which will guide us as to how we can form a quilt, how we can now begin to see ourselves by our value and our content, and not from where we come from.
We have less than 5 minutes, Mheshimiwa. Will we have a referendum?
Yeah. Now let me.
You can start with that before responding to
Zach, don't kill me.
No, I won't. I will just be honest. We want to be, according to the court case,
Yes.
as I see, the decision, the ruling may come at around September.
These are your final words, Zach.
That's how I'm seeing it. Around September. Because if maybe somebody somewhere in the corner won't push the judiciary to do things in a haste. There's something that is really burning me. You know, when we talk about the software, and Mheshimiwa said our dear deputy president, who is the 5th president, is that he's in a software system. To me, software, the deputy president doesn't have a name behind him. You see, software is like when we talk about Gideon, we talk about Moi.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
let me finish. There's something here. There's something here
I
that's
told you
really
those are your
bad.
final words.
Let me
I'm
finish.
sorry I
it.
cut you short.
I know.
No, final thoughts. Final thoughts.
There are my words, but okay.
My final thought is
In less than a minute.
In less than a minute.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa has talked about how we need to move away from the ethnicity, like I said, and then come back and form laws. I believe everything we do should go in tandem with the law. The law should just be a process. If you're eating, you go to the restaurant, you have to pay. It's part of it's part of the law there.
Are we going to have a referendum, Nolan?
The timelines are hard. There are two scenarios. Timelines are hard.
Yes.
If you go as per the timelines, even if we have one, the subtract of the BBI is 70 constituencies. Can't apply because 1 year prior. But that's the law. But now the political angle, as he knows, there is a political angle where their house might be used to extend a term.
Yes.
By
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. That is a game plan. I can tell you for free. There's a game plan to extend the term 1 year.
Is there a game plan to extend? Is there a game plan to extend the term?
You actually want me to tell you the truth, and that is whether they extend or don't. It doesn't bother me.
Are we going to have a referendum?
He'll still be member of parliament for 1 year.
If it not even me, I may not even want to be a member of
But will you
parliament.
vote for yes for that?
What I'm saying, no, just hold on.
Let Mheshimiwa respond. He has less than a minute to respond.
Zach,
Final thoughts, Mheshimiwa.
my final thoughts are that first, I want to thank you for allowing us with this young man.
Thank you for coming.
I hope you'll invite us again.
Yes.
Our country is really wonderful. I just came from Ethiopia. You can't compare us with many of our countries. We can do better. But we need to be careful how we manage our challenges.
Thank you very much. Our political quote of the day: you can't afford to hate politics. The politics of this country is democracy. Democracy is by the people, of the people, and for the people. The day people stop taking active part in the politics of this country, democracy will not survive. By Arvind Kejriwal. Well, all the views described in the show are strictly individual views and do not portray the views of Switch TV. I'm Lincoln Obogo. Our sign language chapters tonight were Michael Matthew and Tracy Dorcas. Many thanks for viewing.